Good day, and welcome once again to another edition of Top 10 Worst of Lists. I'm your host for this Odyssey, Cal Ori, and I'm so pleased to be able to bring you what I feel very confident you'll find as being the most enlightening, empowering, profound and prolific endeavor that you've ever stumbled upon. I mean, I believe that with my heart and soul. This top 10 worst of list is going to be transformative. It's going to provide you with a lodestar for you to follow, dedicate your life to. I'm totally serious. Today's top 10 worst of list is, I'm proud to say it, top 10 worst alternative uses for an esophagus. Now, the esophagus, for those of you who haven't been paying attention, is the tube between your throat, your sweet, luscious, moist, and warm throat, that connects that region to your stomach. Ordinarily used for a reasonably confined set of operations necessary to continue on with your bodily functions. Feeding, breathing, chugging meat, all kinds of good stuff. But, well, before we get to that, I've got just a couple of things I'd like to, make clear to those of you who might not necessarily I don't want you to presume too much about what we're indulging in, because a lot of people watch these top 10 worst of lists, and I've done them now for 7 years, and I feel that a lot of people sort of give themselves over to the entire top 10 worst of aesthetic, and I've become unilaterally focused on everything I say as being the absolute truth, indefatigable source of objective knowledge. But I gotta warn you, I'm an oddball, okay? I've spent 30 years trying to start a bloodless revolution to bring equity to all and liberate our minds, souls, culture, bodies, spirits, groins from our greedy overlords. And I've done a lot of books and productions and music and such and blah, blah, blah. You don't even want to know. Okay? But I don't want you to trust what I say. I don't. When I say stuff, and stuff will be said, I don't want you to, sort of give yourself over like so many others have to my visionary profundity without checking things out for yourself. I think that's important now. You need to be your own fact checkers, okay? Anything that you're allowed to see is compromised. Listen to me now and hear me later. Okay, Hans and friends? All right, and, another thing I want you to know. So, I can't be trusted. Okay, a lot of this stuff is not going to be as, absolute as I make it out to be. I'm actually pretty darn good at getting this stuff right. And, if I had been in Salem back in whatever the 1600s or whatnot, I definitely would have been burned as a, witch. Yeah, really, all that really was about was just, people who had a finely enough attenuated observational skills. This stuff isn't, but I'm quite the prognosticator, so I might say, for the people in the legal department that I can't be trusted, but I can be trusted. Hey, Number two, I'm not partisan. I can't play this stupid game anymore, man. It's destroying us. It's tearing at the fabric of our very souls. So, as I said before, believe me now, pay me later. And go ahead and, get out of the way now before you even hear what I'm about to say. I want you to click the like button. Because after you hear what I want to say, you're not going to want to click the like button. And donate to my frickin'... I don't really have a Patreon. I don't know what to do with any of that stuff. I really could use the money, though. So maybe you could, send me a check or something. Oh, we're not... How are we going to be able to sign checks when we don't know when they stop teaching people cursive? And they don't teach people cursive. How are people going to sign a check? I mean, checks... again, talk about that prognosticator stuff that would get people burned back in the 1600s. I predict that soon they will no longer have written checks because they're not teaching anybody to sign their own frickin' name. All those, movies and stuff like that where they take handwriting samples and they can figure out who the criminal was by analyzing their handwriting stuff. All that whole is all gone forever. I'll never be able to put that into a movie again. Well, I've studied the handwriting samples from the victim's bedside, and I know that Cal Ori is the murderer. Stuff like that's done forever. And did you know that there's only 4 million people that live in Ireland? All this stuff, the Brigadoon, and is Brigadoon Scottish? All this Irish stuff in our culture and whatnot, and St. Patrick's Day and all that kind of, Aaron Gobralis and stuff. I mean, what's the frickin' 4 million people is all that live in Ireland? All these movies and stuff, Kiss Me I Like It for the Irish, and though it's disappointing. Talk about, those guys must have great PR people. U2. You got the band U2 and stuff like that. 4 million freaking people. Man. So, I'm not playing those partisan games anymore. I'm sorry. I know you all want to figure out what side of the aisle that I'm coming from, stuff like that. I'm coming from above the aisle. That's right. I've transcended above our earthly burdens, and I'm speaking to everyone as if they were a fellow human being instead of just an object that's been objectified by a bunch of malicious psychopaths who run the whole, cultural apparatus as if it was their own private propaganda machine to divide us and turn us into a bunch of vicious, self-destructive victims. Hey! All right, so I think that's it. Oh, yeah, wait, no, I can't. A lot of people think that these lists are made up or something, but no. I gathered together with a team of former dental hygienists who gathered together with me outside of the Baha'i Temple in Wilmette, Illinois, and take copious doses of lemon drop moonshine mixed with Alka-Seltzer and come up with these lists together. But before we indulge, one final thing here is get some commercials. And this is always the most popular part of the top 11 lists. We've got coming soon from the producers of the movie Gone with the Wind. It's Gone with the Windu, a mashup between, it's like a standalone Star Wars spinoff featuring Mace Windu in um, Civil War South, Atlanta, and stuff, and then the Union Army starts to burn Atlanta, and they kill off all the younglings. Not the younglings, the younglings. It's Gone with the Wind. And then from the makers of Sir Mix-a-Lot, it's Chex Mix-a-Lot. With instead of Sir Mix-a-Lot, it's Chex Mix. Chex Mix-a-Lot. Buy some today of balanced breakfast for your stupid ass family that you should drown in your minivan next time you got them all strapped in. And then it's children's story, the Mortal Tale of Loving Stuff and whatnot. It's Jack Kerouac and the Beanstalk. So dumb. Oh man. I should never have done this. This is a big mistake, this whole thing. All right, but anyway, let's do with our top 10 worst alternative uses for an esophagus list. Oh, it's going to be so enlightening, so underwhelming and disappointing. Oh, oops. Number 10, the top 10 worst alternative uses for an esophagus. Make a makeshift vuvuzela. Do you remember the vuvuzelas for popular for a minute? It was like, oh, wow, look at these vuvuzelas. And, on the Today Show and on The View, they're talking about, really the vuvuzela trend is really blowing my mind, whoopee. Yes, I'm definitely down with the vuvuzelas. And then 20 seconds later, everybody forgot what the hell a vuvuzela even was. It's that big, loud, plastic trumpet that everybody blows at soccer games. It's another reason why soccer is so freaking dumb and boring. The vuvuzela. Oh, how cool. Why don't we get some vuvuzelas? I suppose it's more entertaining than listening to the band Oasis. All right, well, anyway, top 10 worst alternative uses for esophagus. Number 9, a crazy straw. Yum. Wouldn't it be fun to drink strawberry quick with somebody's used esophagus? Pickled esophagus? I wonder if the pickling process would prepare a pleasant and can't think of another P word. Penis. Esophagus. When in doubt, go with penis. It's never a bad choice. Number 8. Wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be nice? I think the world would be a nicer place if everybody just, latched onto one and just gave it a go. Everybody on Earth, so much of this hatred, I think, is tied up with latent homosexuality and man, if people could just, I think that if people demystify, take all the Mickey out of it, as British people would say. It's like, what's the point of, denying, it's not such a big deal. It's, we've been trained to gobble phallic shaped stuff and to ogle it, and they've used phallic shapes to sell us swag forever. It's like, let's just finally all take the plunge. They should have the president's council on meat chugging, right? Really, would it be that bad of a thing if, let's maybe should hold off till college. Let's say that. Have it be like a college preparatory thing where they had a team stuff, and everybody was made to just sort of taste a few dildos or something, really just get it out of the way. It's not that big of a thing. Everybody says, the worst thing in prison is getting cornholed. But the point is that there's a lot of people who enjoy that type of thing and think it's really the bee's knees. And I think people's minds are opening now. They've been indoctrinated into a world of free porno everywhere you turn. So that, all that destructiveness that it's doing to, us focusing on, stuff that's actually important instead of just achieving orgasms. Who the hell wants to achieve an orgasm? It's not an achievement. It's, just something blatantly. It'll happen accidentally if you, you have a special time. It's your own private special time. I say go for it. Let's unleash the serpent. Let it loose and see what happens. I bet you the world would be a better place if everybody chugged a little meat every so often, or at least a couple of times, just to demystify it. It's not such a big whoop. You eat a freaking hot dog, there's no difference. You eat a banana, no difference. You eat a candy cane, a little difference. Not major, but, it's all the same sort of thing. Bananas, hot dogs, candy canes, even a toothpick. That one probably got a lot of the guys, squirming in their lederhosen. All right, number 8 of the top 10 worst alternative uses for an esophagus. Torpedo tube for a Lilliputian submarine. Now, any of you guys out there, guys and dolls out there, remember a little thing called Gulliver's Travels? No? Well, let me introduce you to a little gentleman by the name of Jonathan Swift. Well, anyway, in the stories, Gulliver's this big giant, or I don't know if he's a giant or if he's just relatively big compared to the inhabitants of an island that he gets shipwrecked on, called Lilliput, and they've got the Lilliputians, who in comparison to Gulliver are tiny little, shrimps. Like 99% of the male politicians in this world. Tiny little shrimps. Unfortunate. Why don't you try chugging meat? Maybe you'll get over your latent homosexuality, and be a real human being for a change. Yeah? So these Lilliputians and stuff like that, if they had a submarine, it would be puny, tiny, again, the American male politician comes to mind. And so an esophagus would actually be way, way too big, technically. But it makes for an almost funny joke. Number 7 of the top 10 worst alternative uses for an esophagus, a friendship bracelet. Now, this is one that, and most of this stuff is meant to be attempts at silly jokes or triggers to, give me an entree into launching into a bunch of, confrontational musings, as it were. But the friendship bracelet is kind of a nifty idea. I mean, maybe you'd need to, you certainly need to decorate the esophagus, maybe deep fry it, in some paper mache, and then it'd probably be real easy to be able to decorate it with a wide array of colors and exotic rhinestones. Number 6 of the top 10 worst alternative uses for an esophagus, Claude, the philandering scuba instructor from the movie Along Came Polly, could use it as a snorkel for when you are for scuba. Now, I know that movie wasn't real popular, with Ben Stiller and Jennifer Aniston. And, Ben Stiller goes with his newlywed wife down to some tropical island, and then they sign up for a scuba lesson with Claude, the philandering scuba instructor, and it leads to perilous and unfortunate hijinks as Ben Stiller's newly betrothed wife starts chugging meat with Claude, and Claude's big sort of tagline is, "Are you for scuba? Are you for scuba? Are you for scuba?" That was more like, oh, there's a pretty good Harvey Firestein there. Are you for scuba? Hi, I'm Harvey Firestein. It would be even funnier to do Paul Harvey as Harvey Firestein. And now you know the rest of the story. So many esoteric jokes no one will get. It's a bevy, full on plethora. Number 5 of the top 10 worst alternative uses for an esophagus. I don't know, this one seems pretty obvious to me. Marijuana pipe, but you're going to have to drill a trach hole in there for a carburetor. So, if you get the esophagus with a pre-drilled trach hole, it could save you a lot, especially if they keep the little plasticky thing inside the trach hole. It'd make it a lot cleaner of a carburetor, that wouldn't get mussed up or gooey with marijuana resin. A tip for all you guys from an old hippie, for those of you who do have water pipes and marijuana in your lives, and states where it's legal, okay? Only states where it's legal. Denture cleaner, like those little Effordent tablets. Mwah. All right, number 4 for the top 10 worst of marijuana. Marijuana uses for pipes. Top 10 alternative uses for marijuana pipes. All right, for esophagus is fine. Chop it into 3-inch segments, dry them out, and use them as mini cannoli shells. So that you can, they can make those little cannolis out of dried out human esophagus. I mean, I suppose the esophagus doesn't need to be human. If you could get some other animals that have cannoli-sized esophaguses, they'll do in a pinch. I mean, like how about an ostrich esophagus? That would probably be able to do like maybe up to a half a dozen cannolis. Or giraffe esophagus, I suppose, is the obvious joke here. You get 20 cannolis out of one giraffe esophagus. And who's going to miss the giraffe? Giraffe is the most pointless animal in history. What the hell is... Who came up with that stuff? I suppose it sort of points to the whole idea that, somebody must have been thinking about a lot of the stuff in creation to create something as stupid as the giraffe. How would a giraffe know to evolve into being a giraffe? Like with the trees, yeah, sure, you see leaves and fruit on the trees, but you got grass on the ground. How do you just sort of strive towards like natural selection? Go like, okay, well, there's leaves on the trees, so we have a giraffe with no neck whatsoever. That's where you start off, and then there's one that has a little tiny longer neck that that's still going to be 20 feet away from grabbing a leaf off of a tree or a fruit or whatever the hell giraffes eat off of the tree. It seems beguiling. Gives one pause. But anyway, we're not here to discuss the ultimate answers to what gave movement and impulse to the known universe. That's a different top 10 worst of list. Number 3, the top 10 worst uses for an esophagus. Use it as the tubing in a CPAP device. Now, see, this is where, it's pretty practical. Because if it for some reason becomes punctured, you can use your own esophagus to replace it in a pinch. Number 2 of the top 10 worst alternative uses for an esophagus. Reinforce it with epoxy resins and use it as a table leg. See, now that could be fun. Because if you do, like from earlier in this episode, where you take your family and drive the minivan into a water reservoir, you could probably, harvest the esophagi off of your family and create your own Maybe you can find some driftwood, found objects, and things to make the other components of the table. I'm always looking out for my viewers. I really am. It's an uncommon level of simpatico and trying to get out in front of what your needs are. That's that's why I'm here. Is that why I'm here? Is that why I'm here, God? God, why have you stopped talking to me? Your humble servant. And the number one top worst alternative use for an esophagus is a human throat cord. A human throat cord? Why didn't I think of that? Well, that's all the time we've got for Top 10 Worst of. Today, I think that you'll, go ahead and start showering me with plaudits and accolades. I know. Best damn Top 10 Worst of list you've ever heard in your life. I know. Well, everything I said here, just as a way of, by way of outro, is they're all opinions. Look, I'm just, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'm at the tail end of my life. I had been, as I said earlier, 30 years trying to instigate a peaceful revolution by empowering what's good in people, making them too strong to dominate by our overlords, so that they can free themselves from bondage. It's all, And I was destroyed by the very people that I was trying to help, and I'm just trying, to not completely give up the ghost, as it were, even though the ghost has given up on me. So whatever semi-intelligent power that you've got available to you, I wish you all the best. As with malice in my heart and charity towards none, I bid you adieu. And thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm, looking forward to seeing you on yet another edition of Top 10 Worst Ofs. And, let's try and get through this thing together.